Hello everyone. I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judi Bosworth, and I, along with our town board, are proud to present At Home with North Hempstead, a series of special programs for children, seniors, as well as entertainment for residents of all ages. I hope you enjoyed this special presentation and check back often for new content. Today, we thank all the brave and courageous men and women who have fought and continue to fight for the freedoms we enjoy. We recognize all of those who have done so much to protect the ideals that we cherish as Americans. Today and every day, we show our appreciation for you, our veterans. Thank you for your service.
My name is Ramona Jones.
My name is Phil Eredita.
My name is Robert Stephen Bernstein.
My name is Al Piscatelli.
My name is Peter Gong.
I served in the United States Army.
I was aboard a destroyer.
With the 37th Signal Battalion in Da Nang, Vietnam.
I served in the United States Army at Fort Rucker, Alabama.
I served in Vietnam in 1965.
Had a great tours of duty.
It was very, very eye-opening, but it was great. I'm so glad that I served.
It's about discipline. It's about your country.
I thought that serving my country was the proper thing for me to do at that time. I was 20 years old at the time.
When the country calls me, I will go, and I went.
Well, it's our heritage. It's what the United States stands for.
And we should always strive for peace. And that should always be our goal.
You know, everything that we basically take for granted, our education and our healthcare and our rights, they just don't have in Afghanistan.
We do need people in this world, in this country, to defend the country and realize what's more important in this country of ours.
If it wasn't for these people that serve our country, we wouldn't be here.
It made me the type of person that I am today because I was in the military. Spent 27 years of wonderfulness.
We do remember and we respect our war dead because they were the ones that protected our country and gave us the freedom.
It's a time to remember those that gave their lives so that we could be celebrating on Memorial Day.
I lost some classmates from West Point. One of them is Matthew Ferrara, also Ben Hall.
And Alvin J. Robinson, who was my mentor and very good friends of my parents.
His name is Connie Sears. He served in Vietnam. He just passed away. He did a lot for the veterans, and I remember him very much.
Growing up in Northport, I had a good friend. His name was Billy Quinn, and he's remembered as our first casualty in Northport.
Really good friend of mine. He served there World War II. He's the fellow that I want to remember. His name is John Washesky.
We are not entitled, but we are appreciative. We're appreciative of what our country gives back to us. So in my own way, I continue to soldier on.
Eleanor Roosevelt had a poem that she carried with her during World War II. It said, in essence, "You died for me, did I deserve it?"
I'm Judi Bosworth. I'm the North Hempstead Town Supervisor, and I'm so happy to welcome all of you here today. I want to thank all of the veterans present today. Your loyalty and dedication to your fallen brothers is so admirable. Just 1 month after the attack on Pearl Harbor, dozens of missions originated out of Mitchell Field, just a short distance from our town's borders. And on New Year's Day, 1942, just 25 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor, a tragic plane crash occurs right here in the backyard of this quiet neighborhood and what we know today to be New Hyde Park.
Today, 75 years ago, we once again honor the ultimate sacrifices of the 5 airmen. They gave their lives so that the people of Hillside Park Oaks might be spared.
We need to take care of our veterans. We need to honor our veterans. And an event like this just promotes awareness to helping our veterans.
We do a memory for these flyers, and we always will. They live here. They're ours. and will always take care of this with a memorial.
Following the crash, the residents of the neighborhood would come to know that the bomber's pilot, Lieutenant Charles Van Ewen, had heroically avoided crashing the crippled bomber into their homes.
But he really saved many lives because that plane would have landed right into the residential area of New Hyde Park. So he was a hero.
The selfless sacrifice of the 5 young airmen is why we are here today, so that we can remember them and we can honor them.
Just a little remembrance so the people in New Hyde Park would know the history of New Hyde Park.
The one thing you don't want to forget is the people who died protecting your freedom.
It's so hard to comprehend the magnitude of what these men were asked to do at such a young age. They answered their country's call, and they made that ultimate sacrifice. I thank you so much all for being here, for sharing this with us, for making this day a special one to commemorate the service of these brave men, and certainly to commemorate the service of all our veterans. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
It's a 1962 Chevrolet Corvette. I had a 66 that I had totally restored, and unfortunately it was in my sister's garage, and her house, let's say, drowned in Hurricane Sandy. I had a customer for many years that owned this car, and in all the years he had it, I never saw him drive it. So I called him up and said, I'm looking to buy another old Corvette. After what happened to mine, are you interested? And we put it together. And I did a lot of work to it since. It wasn't quite in this shape, but here we are. I make an effort to keep it as original as possible. Little nitpicking things all make a difference when the car is showed. The hose clamps, the headlights need a certain marking from General Motors in those years, and 100 details like that. So over time, I've done as much as I can to continually get it back to as original as possible. And it's what they call a numbers matching car. I could show you where the number is on this engine that matches the vehicle identification number of the vehicle, and that adds value as well. It may look pretty to look at, but I will tell you, it rides like a truck. And it was state of the art, but that was, 58 years ago? A lot easier to drive a modern car, and a lot easier to stop a modern car, and to get a modern car to handle with radial tires than it is something that is vintage.
It's a 1970 Plymouth Duster. It's original. Just makes me feel young. It's a head turner. People jump out at you, give you a thumbs up all over the place. I mean, it's got a little performance equipment on it. Well, it's been my son's for the better part of 34 years. We really haven't done nothing to it. Just basically maintenance, keeping it running. It's been garaged for the last 10 years. 8 of those years it's a climate control garage. Crazy about cars.
'62 Thunderbird. I bought it about 12, 13 years ago. I had one of these new in '82. I always loved them. I love it. I love it. I couldn't ask for anything better. Why do I love it? It's my salvation. Number one, my wife has dementia. She can't speak, she can't walk, she can't feed herself. And I have her home. And I have aides 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, taking care of her. And like I say, that's my salvation. This is my only enjoyment in life right now. except for my wife. And we're married 60 years. I've won so many trophies with this car. It's unbelievable. I even won Best of Show. I enjoy it. I enjoy the car itself.
This is a 62 Chevy Impala, and it's the second year of the 409, the big one, the only one that the Beach Boys sang, the only one about an engine, my 409. I saw it on an advertisement out in the island, and I went out there and looked at it and just fell in. I had one when I was a kid, so I really wanted to get something that I knew and liked. I had that when I was in high school, so to me it was an inspiration before I was inducted into the service. It's still super easy, but the problem is it doesn't drive like a modern car. The steering wheel is very small. It doesn't have the turning radius. It's a little wavy, but it's a bigger car, and it just brings back memories of when I was a kid and driving around, in high school and stuff. Like I said, it's a 409. It's the first one when they started to do all the big blocks and the racing engines. They started from that point, and then all the other companies jumped on board. Well, there's room underneath the hood. You can get around, and you can still buy parts for it. It's really nice to have people look at it and say, that's not new. That's one of the old ones. Really, I love it for a driver. It's an antique. It's over 50 years old, so it's something and it brings back those memories, and that's the thing about these things. Yeah, I like the shirt too. Those are all Super Sports, and they made Super Sports from 62 on. They're still making some of the newer ones with Super Sports, they say.
It's a 71 Oldsmobile 442 W30 convertible Tribute. I was looking for something like this for a long time, and when I found it, I bought it. Convertible, a muscle car, and a white interior. It's got a big giant motor, very fast. It only gets about 7 miles to the gallon. The normal minivan will blow this away driving around town because it's big, it's heavy, but it's all metal. There's very little plastic in it. It has power windows, power steering, power brakes. That's about it. Oh, people always thumbs up, waving. As they're looking at you, they drive into you. Like they leave their lane to come over. Say, oh, nice car. Yeah, get away from me. Lots of elbow grease. But once it's good and clean, it stays in the garage all the time, and usually under a cover. So it doesn't really ever get dirty. I think I've had it 10, 11 years. It's been in the rain twice, never in the snow since I've had it. I love muscle cars. Old Mercedes I love. I have an old diesel Mercedes too.
That's a 1969 Chevelle. Delivering fuel oil, found it in somebody's backyard, had 5 inches of leaves all over the car. I left a note on the guy's bill. The 69 Chevelle looks like it needs a good home. If you're looking to get rid of the car, give me a call. The guy called me up 2.5 weeks later and said, oh, how long have you been with the company? And I said, approximately 22 years. And he said, well, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. Are you sitting down? He gave me the car. Gave me the car for free. He was a customer and a friend of the family's. He says, oh, Joe taught me how to golf, and Angelo taught me how to do this, and that one taught me how to do that. And it was very nice of Glenn to give me the car. And I had drove it the way it was for 2 years, and then I restored it. Never planned on going as far as I did with the car, but I said, you know what, I'm not racing anymore. I says, I'll build something for the street, and I wound up putting a motor, a transmission, a rear end, quarter panel, and fenders on the car, just to make it look really show-worthy. And it's a real good driver. I go and I put a 350 motor in it. I put a 700 R4 transmission in it, which is the overdrive. And I put a 373 Pazio rear. And if I go from a dead stop, I could leave 8 feet, 2 wheels, no problem. Foreign cars pull up next to you and go, din, 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 din. I'll let them know that this is American muscle. The body style is very unique. Everybody loves the color also. The color on the car, as you see, it's the gold, antique gold they call it, and the black stripes on it, which a buddy of mine put on for me. And I'm happy with the car, just driving it the way it is.
It's a 1970 American Motors Javelin. Believe it or not, I found it on the Penny Saver in the year 2000. And the Penny Saver happened to be in Pennsylvania, but the car was in College Point, and that's where I was living at the time. So I paid $1,200 for the car. And then when I went through all the VIN numbers and everything else like that, I found out that it was a Mark Donahue Javelin, which they only made 2,500 of them so they could race in the Trans Am series. The seller would have known that. I probably would have paid much, much more. I've always been an American Motors fan, believe it or not. I mean, when I say that to people, they go, you could have had a Chevy, you could have had a Ford, but when I go to a show, there's no other one like it. So, there's plenty of Mustangs, plenty of Camaros, and I built the car my way. I couldn't put it in a show and have it win from first place or anything else like that because the color is wrong. It's right for that year, but it's not for that car. But I love red cars. My brother and I, we had a lot of work because it had been in an accident, and we put parts from a parts car on it. And when we got it done with it, it kind of looked like my brother and I did it. So I would go to shows and I'd be afraid to even go near some of the other cars. So I happened to get a couple of bucks and I had it professionally done. And believe it or not, I had it done with Mako. Mako did the whole work on the car. To be a Mark Donahue, it had to have the rocker panel on there. It had to have the spoiler, which was used in Trans Am, plus the deluxe interior. It came with a 390 or a 360 automatic or 4-speed. This one happens to be 360 automatic. And it's bigger, I put kids in here sometimes to take pictures. And the first thing they go is, where's the airbags? No, there is no airbags in this thing. But you sit in there and like the dashboard is over there someplace. It's not like today's car where it's like looking right at you. And believe it or not, this has shoulder harnesses, which is unusual.
It's a 1981 Chevy El Camino. It's got 500,000 miles on it, and it's the second engine. It was a birthday present when I was 55 from my parents. It's great. I used to go down to Florida to see my parents once every month. So you figure all the mileage that I put on that. Plus I use it for work for many years. I didn't have a pickup. That works fine. After about 300 and change, I had to change the engine. I put in a 305 that came with a smaller engine. It's a nice car to drive. It's comfortable. It's got all the amenities, air conditioning and so forth and so on. And believe it or not, it's very good on gas. Take care of it, tune-ups, oil changes, grease jobs, all that good stuff. Chick magnet. This particular vehicle was given to me by my parents. So it has some personal, meaning to me. It's not just a car, it's a gift.
At one point, I wanted to get something that I kind of grew up with. In 1969, when I got married, my brother gave me a 1960 four-door Bel Air as a wedding present. I gravitated towards this, and that's why I bought this particular model. After Sputnik, a lot of cars incorporated space-age type designs and things like that. So this was the poor man's version of what the Impala had, which was a little more ornate than this, but that's basically what that's about. It's turquoise, topped with ermine white. It was gray, white on the top, and place that did this, all the body work and the paint. I think I got the guy who worked there, I got him excited about trying something. So he went through the colors with me and he said, "This is the one I like." I said, "You're right." I was a little worried that I had already bought an interior that was going to go with a gray car, but gray is neutral, so it worked out. The car itself was pretty straightforward for the time. So what I've done is I put things in there that were appropriate for the time, but maybe didn't come with the car. So the first thing I did was I bought shoulder belts, so that even though I didn't have to have seat belts at all, I put in shoulder belts. I felt the safest that way. I also had the engine swapped out. So when you see the 53 Chevy, that has my old engine, my old 6-cylinder in it. So I put an 8-cylinder in there. Why? Because I knew I wanted air conditioning. So I had, again, air conditioning was available in 60. I also eventually took out the gauges and put in digital ones, which saved me at one point. I was driving along and I saw that the voltage kept going down 12, 11, 10, 9. All the gauges shut off at that point, and I drove to the Don's East Coast Restorations, and he took the alternator out and changed it. When I first got it, the first test drive I did, I realized it took a lot to stop and a lot to steer. So there's a power booster for the brakes, disc brakes in the front, that my brother converted the drums to. This windshield you will see on every GM car of this year. I believe all of them had that wrap-around windshield. The whole car gives me a lot of vision. I feel very safe, making sure I'm changing lanes correctly and things like that.
'53 Chevrolet Bel Air. Before I had this, I had a Ford Roadster 1930, and I saw this in the garage, and I made a swap with the man who owned the station. He gave me $1,000 plus this. So, and I bought this in year 2000. Colors are beautiful. They don't make two-tones anymore like this. I think anybody who has an antique car likes the car. There's something about it that he likes and somebody else may like. Generally, people don't go for four-door cars. But this had the color, it has the comfort. It rides very heavy, like a Cadillac. It feels solid. I also have another one, a 65 Ford Falcon. It doesn't ride like this, though. It's light, it's tinny, but this is very heavy and it really holds the ground. And it's just excellent for me. I love it. 20 years, I won't get rid of it. So. When I first bought the car, I had trouble with it for 10 years. To be honest with you, the first person who had it, I think he got it out of a junkyard, and he did the upholstery inside. Then he died and he sold it to somebody else. That guy did the outside. When I got it, I had to do the engine over. Perfect running order now.
This is a 1965 Ford Galaxy 500 XL convertible. Well, I had a couple other 65 Fords and I found it advertised someplace. It was in Rockaway, Queens area. Guy had it in a garage and it wasn't running. Made a deal with him. I think I paid like $600 for it about 35 years ago, I guess. And we towed it home and I got it running. I put a new battery in it, changed the oil. It has original ignition, ignition points, condenser. Probably did a tune-up on it, spark plugs. It's actually a 68 Mercury Cougar engine that I found that was in it, which is a 302. The original one was a 289. They look exactly the same. I have it dressed up to look exactly the same as the original engine. Everywhere I go with it, I get compliments. People notice it. In fact, I had it out a couple days ago, and like during the day, like 5 different people, gave me comments on it. I try to enjoy the camaraderie of all my friends in the clubs and several clubs. When they made these new, Ford had an advertisement on TV. It's quieter than a Rolls Royce, which I find that's pretty much that seems like the truth, I've been involved with the, automotive field. I'm retired from New York City Transit as a supervisor in the bus garage. If there's something nobody can seem to figure it out and I can, it gives me personal satisfaction.
It's a 1941 Chevy Special Deluxe Sports Sedan, all original. I'm affiliated with two clubs, the club here, which I'm the director and president of, the VCCA Queens County, and also the GNYR, the Greater New York Region on Long Island. I'm a board director. And someone there was selling the car almost 10 years ago, and I went to see it. I drove it, I loved it, and we made a deal and I bought it. It's been in 3 car shows, and I have 3 awards for being all original. You should really be knowledgeable in mechanics, locating parts, which we do for all our club members. I have almost 60 club members. We all help each other locate parts, help to fix the cars. I am a mechanic, I was a truck mechanic, so it does come in handy because it gets very expensive to pay somebody. Because a lot of auto repair shops don't even want to work on an old car. And if you find someone, you have to pay, or your car doesn't get repaired and it don't run. This still had the 3-speed on the column, and it's vacuum assist, which still works, and it makes the shifting very smooth. I own a Mercedes-Benz, and there's more room in this than a Mercedes. This will seat 6 people comfortably. I'm a commander of the Little Neck Douglaston American Legion Post, and I'm vice commander of the whole Queens County, all the regions, which are 24 different American Legion posts. There's a good connection there. We also do car shows for the St. Albans VA home, and a lot of the older veterans there, it brings back memories of cars they used to have, or their father had, or their friends had, and it's just a great experience. I'm just so happy to have the 4 cars I have. It's my oldest one, and I think my favorite. It's not my most expensive, but I just like this car. It always starts up, it's reliable, it stops, it doesn't go fast, which I don't want to go fast, and I can depend on it. It goes, stops, and that's the main thing. Before a car can go, you got to make sure it stops. Any mechanic will tell you that. It was good for the day, but in today's terms, visibility is a little poor. 2-piece windshield. The rear window is not as wide. The windshield's not as wide. You have to get used to that first as you're driving. You just can't jump and cross lanes that easy. It's difficult. It does not come with a mirror on this side. I put it on there. I feel every car should have 2 mirrors.
That's a 55 Chevy 2-door hardtop Bel Air. Me and my brother's cousin used to own it many years ago. He had bought it someplace, I don't know where, but upstate New York. And he had it for 10 years. Then he sold it to my brother. My brother had it for 10 years, and it was all stock. It wasn't nothing touched on this, virgin. And I got it, and then I did this. I did a frame off, completely frame off. I changed the motor. I made it a bigger motor. It's a 350, 400 horse 350. And I got a 5-speed stick shift, tri-power, and 411 rear. And I take it everywhere. I drive this thing. In fact, I just came back, well, last year anyway, not this year because of the pandemic. I went to Kentucky twice with this. I drove it down. I drive this thing as much as I can. Whenever, even when I'm not doing that, I just decided to go out one night and I just drive anywhere. I just visit some people, just take a ride on the Captree, down a Captree, and back. And there's nothing I just enjoy more than driving this thing. I built it to drive it, so it's not a show. It's not a trailer queen. Actually, it's very easy to drive. I got power steering in it. I mean, I got all the goodies, air conditioning and power steering, power brakes, power disc brakes. I upgraded the brakes so it stops better. And all the upgrades that I could get for safety, I got. They call it a shoebox. That's what they call it, a shoebox. 55, 6, and 7, they call it shoebox cars. But this one here, I just the lines, the 55 was the first major change in their cars in 55, and I just love the looks of it, the lines. I love the hard top, and the windows down. Well, I get in the wintertime, I have them up, but in summertime, even if I don't use the air conditioner, I get all the windows down. But today is hot. I got the AC on. Actually, the car was India Ivory and Gypsy Red originally, red and white. I wanted to change it, and it's Viper Red and Antique White. And once they put them on, that was it. It's a nice color combination. It really stands out. Well, a lot of guys came out of the service and they wanted a hobby and they jumped into this. You know, a lot of guys, a lot of vets into this. It's something to do. It's, you know, and it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people, which is the great part. When you're down in Kentucky, you meet all kinds of people down there. They're so nice down there. They are so nice down there. You meet a whole bunch of people. You get ideas, more ideas on the car itself. You know what to do, and just talking about cars and people, and it's just a nice hobby.
It's a 1964 Chevy Impala. You know, there was an ad in Newsday, 1992, and I went out to Franklin Square, and I purchased it off a collector. Yeah, and you know, I guess I kept it all these years because I always liked it. I did some mechanical restoration on it, and basically, cosmetically, it's the way I bought it. Chevy was one thing, and you know, Impalas I always liked. My first car was a 60 Impala. Found that in Whitestone under the bridge. Turned out to be a used car dealer, Sambucci, which junkyards really, what they were. And that's how I got into the Chevys and the Impalas. And then this came along and I liked it. Convertible was something new to me. And I figured, you know, let me see it. And I went for it. From decades before, you know, my older brother, he would be racing cars and stuff, and Chevys was always preferred. And I guess it was just in front of me at the time, you know. And I just like looked at Chevys and I liked them, you know. But they're pretty like basic, common man car, right? You know, but they had a lot of nice features to them. You know, this is an SS model, has the bucket seats with some fancy trim around the seats and stuff, you know, so I just liked it, you know. That's Joe also.
Do you like riding around in the Impala?
Speak up loud, he can't hear you.
Yes. Yeah? Is it fun to ride in? Yeah? What's your favorite part about riding in the car?
You know, I drove it down south Alabama for some mechanical work that I was doing down there. You know, my brother's got a shop down there, and yeah, it drove down there fine, but we upgraded some things and I drove it back home, you know. These were like regular everyday cars, more or less, when I started buying them, really. You know, even like in the 80s, they were still very usable, and it's very drivable. You go anywhere with it, you know. You got to be used to no air conditioning, which, you know, you pull the knob underneath the dashboard and the vents open up, and as long as you're moving, you're cooling. Say bye, Joe.
Bye, Joe.
This is a 1929 Chevy International four-door sedan. Believe it or not, I bought it online out of Houston, Texas. Most people do not buy cars you don't see, but in today's age, with everything being virtual and that, I probably had more pictures, films, and everything else on this car than you could imagine. And I really had a clear picture of what I was purchasing at the time. Over the years, I've had a series of antique cars. I had mostly in the 30s and that, and I always wanted this style. You know, it's almost like the gangster style. I think a real old car, considered antique, my personal opinion, should have running boards, and which this does. You know, 91 years old, it still runs good. This The only unique thing about this car, this was the first year for Chevy having a 6-cylinder engine. Prior to that, it was all 4 cylinders. However, it still only has 26 horsepower, so not a lot. You know, takes a little bit to get it going. The main problem today is other motorists just get annoyed, you know, that I can't move that fast. You know, we have extra room for stopping, and you know, it's unfortunate. I try to do my best. I try to keep off the main roads. I don't get on the highways, and it's mechanical brakes, so you know it takes a lot to stop. So you know, I give myself a good distance. In the years I've owned the car, it hasn't seen rain. You know, I do add some lead to the gasoline because of the way the valves are seated. It needs that extra lubrication. Back in those days when they had factories produced one color. So if your car came out of one particular factory, was black. Another particular factory, I believe it was blue and black, and this one was green and black. And I just love the color combination, and I like the style. The inside, the back, it's very, very tight up front. Just the way it is. The back seats, it's almost like a limousine. Plenty of leg room, headroom, the whole 9 yards. I just love the style, and it's unique, and modern cars could do something similar to that with the more powerful engine, but they just don't.
thank you, our veterans, for bringing us the American dream of freedom. Many of you are with us today, and for those millions that are not, we have memories that shall be with us forever. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq. God bless you, and God bless America.
I salute each and every one of you. Thank you to all the veterans in all branches of service. Our country is a wonderful place because of the brave men and women who have fought for our freedom. Thank you for your service.
Even with all of the issues facing us today, it's important that we stop and take a moment to remember all the sacrifices from our military and their families, both that they have made and continue to make today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless all of you, and God bless America.
Our members of the armed forces strengthen our nation one community at a time, and we are grateful to have you here in the town of North Hempstead. As our affection continues to grow towards you every day, we say thank you for your service.
Today we say thank you to all the men and women that have so faithfully served in our armed forces. We thank them for all the sacrifices that they've made. We thank their families for all the sacrifices that they've made as well. As John F. Kennedy said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
For selflessly serving our country and protecting the freedoms that we hold so dear, we salute each and every member of our armed forces. I wish I could be there with you in person to say God bless you all. Thank you for serving our country.
I hope everyone is doing well during these very difficult times. I want to express how grateful I am and my family is to all of the veterans who have served our country and have sacrificed so much for us and for our freedoms. We love you and we will never forget you. Thank you for your service to our great country. God bless America.
Hi, I'm North Hempstead Town Clerk Wayne Wink. On this and every day, we should thank those who have defended our American way of life. So please, thank you to our veterans, thank you for your service, and stay well.
Today, we thank all the brave and courageous men and women who have fought and continue to fight for the freedoms we enjoy. We recognize all of those who have done so much to protect the ideals that we cherish as Americans. Today, and every day, we show our appreciation for you, our veterans. Thank you for your service.